Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So you need to respond so that I know you can hear me. Good afternoon, everybody. Good. So it's a great privilege to be here. All right. So good afternoon, everybody. So it's actually great prayer. So it's always an honor to be in an event like this. But this one is particularly special to me because it's about female. All right. So this makes it even much more special. And the reason for that is that actually there are many reasons. But the first is, the population of the world is made up of 50% at least of women. So if you want to develop, if you ever need to move forward in life and you shut down 50% of your workforce, what's wrong with you? What does that mean? You are not going to develop, all right? So actually when you develop 50% of your workforce and you make sure that they do well, you are not doing them a favor, all right? You are just being sensible. You are just using your brain. So when you don't develop that 50%, it's not just that you are senseless, it's that, you are killing yourself because you will not be productive. So now the question is, okay, this 50%, why do we need to then set up something special for them? Well, it is because we need equal access. We are not actually talking about equal outcome here. So there are two different things. So it doesn't really matter whether a boy and a girl, they sit for a particular exam. One get 90%, the other one gets 60%. I don't care whether it's a boy or a girl at that point, because that is outcome, okay? Equal outcome. We are not looking at that. You can't do that. You are not God. You cannot make people to get equal outcome. But what you can do is to create a level playing equal access. And the example I always use is this. If you were to say, okay, I have two people, and these two people, you want them to write an exam. And this exam is going to be based on them watching a particular play going on. Maybe about a meter away from here. There's a play. They have to watch people doing drama. And when they finish the drama, you want to test them based on the drama. Okay? So the test is the outcome. You want to check, do you have brain? Should I give you this job? Can you do it? Okay, that is, we want to test outcome. But before we test outcome, we want you to watch this drama, okay? Let's now assume that one of them is very tall. The other is short. All right? So the one that is tall can just look through the fence. And there's a fence in front of them. Look at the fence. He doesn't even need to stretch, and he can watch clearly. Then you have the other one that is very short and cannot see, and is having to jump before he can see. So he will jump and then come down, jump and yeah. So at the outcome level, you actually have not created a level playing field to know whether that guy has a brain or not, because he's not seeing the same thing. So equal access is this: you go to that place, get a stool that make that short person to be at the same level with the person that is tall. They are watching exactly the same thing, and then they write exam. Now, if the short person gets 0, that's his own problem. I don't need to help him at that thing. And that is why looking after women specifically is very important, because it's a question of equality in terms of access. It's also a question of us being sensible. It's a question of fairness. It's a question of us actually trying to develop the future. But there's another question which really worries me sometimes. Is like, do you know, all of us, you get married and you don't get married to a man. You actually get married to a woman. And then you have children, and there's the probability that your child will be a daughter is 50% minimum. Sometimes it's even more, right? And then you have work, you have colleagues at work that are women, and you think they should just find their way, right? Then you have this daughter, and you are hoping that she will be all right. So who is going to make her all right? You've not made your colleague at work all right, that is a woman, then you are hoping that your daughter will be fine. Sorry, she's not going to be fine. She will be fine when collectively we have a system that, and that system is not going to come from government, it's going to come from us, because we are actually the government. And that is what I can say about this conference, why it is very special to me. So I lost my mom when I was 8, okay? Again, that makes it even more personal to me. And the people, what I found in life is that actually the people that met me shaped me into who I am today. They are mostly women. Okay? And I'm sure if you are honest with yourself, for those who are men here, those who are passionately looking after you and they think you must do well, sometimes they are actually women, okay? The principal of my school, by the way, why I'm late, I'm sorry that I'm late, but I just thought I have to do this. So I went to my secondary school, met them on the assembly, and I gave them a lecture this morning. So I've not been there for like, I don't know, 30 years or something like that. So I went there, and the simple story was this. Look at me. I came to this school by mistake. I came here because my mom passed away. I had to go to another state to finish my primary school. By the time I came back to Kwara State, to Ilorin, they didn't accept my common entrance, even though I scored very high. Kwara State will not accept Ondo State common entrance, so I didn't get to go to any school. So the only school that was new at the time that could take anybody randomly, that was where I was going to. So you can look at it. I went into normal, average, maybe low school, but you might be here today and you think, well, maybe I did a mistake, maybe you are not happy, but does that really matter? Because at the end of the day, I am who I am today, by the grace of God. So that's what I told them. So the people that have helped me all through up to today, they are Muslim women, and their friends, mom, for example. The first time I cried that I lost my mom was when I was 18. Remember, I lost her when I was 8. I was too young to know whether to cry or not. I saw my brother crying, so I didn't cry. What's going on? Anyway, so when I was 18, I saw my friend's mom fighting him because he didn't eat very well. And I said, oh, you have to eat this. And I said, so they fight people over food, and that's what mom does. So, sorry, it might sound like I'm going on and on about women, but it's actually about you. So, sorry if the men feel I'm talking too much about women. This is about women, so we have to talk about it. So, thank you very much for having me. So, like I was saying earlier on, so I just, was able to encourage this secondary school student. And when I finished on the assembly, they grabbed me again and said, well, they want question and answer. So I went to the SS3 class, and I spent about 25 or 30 minutes. So I had to rush down, but they were asking me some very, very serious, intimate question. So one even asked me some question you could know that was what's happening in their home, happening in their family. And by the grace of God, I was able to give them answers to, specifically saying this, and that's what I will be saying, because it doesn't matter whether you are SS3 or whether you are 90-year-old. It's all the same. Is that actually there's somebody that is very important. Do you know who that person is? It's you. It's you. You make a choice in life. Where you want to be, how high you want to really flow, has to be about you. Don't generalize too much. Don't do we too much. Okay, do me first, meaning not be selfish to me, but don't take, oh, Buhari is this, the governor of Kwara State is this, the road is not good because of, you can't change that. Think about what you can change, which is really you. That is what you have power over, you have influence over. You change that, you know what is going to happen? You'll be able to influence other people and they will be willing to follow you. Does that make sense? Good. So this morning, nothing technical. You're right, so don't be disappointed that they call this guy a professor and he's just talking like like a preacher. So there's nothing talking, he's just really talking about me, about life, so like I've been introduced, I'm a professor of Intelligence Infrastructure System at Manchester Met. And I'm a director of Research Center. I'm also just recently appointed as the board of director of African Hydrogen Partnership based in Mauritius, and many other things. I sit on the board for European Union, where I help them, I advise them on different things. Also, I'm part of the team for African Union, called ASRIC for research, and so on and so forth. So it's a great privilege when I look at this sometimes. Last year, yes, 2021, my vice chancellor, the team, they asked me to give a lecture on the graduation day. I was asked to give a keynote speech. It was very tough because, the Western way of doing things, precision, 6 minutes. They want you, and you cannot, actually it has to be 5. I plan for 5 minutes, even though I was given 6 minutes. You have to plan for 5 because it cannot go over. And so, and I was thinking, how will I say this on 5 minutes and so on? And I just remember the day I became a professor, I called my friend Abdulatif Famino, who is now in Oxford. We went to the same secondary school, by the way. So when I just called Latif, I said, Latif, can you imagine? Can you imagine? They just made me a professor. I said, oh, Allahu Akbar. I said, yeah, Allahu Akbar. We just laugh. And they said, can you imagine a vendor turned professor? And that my speech kind of on that day was around that. That this boy that had to sell newspaper on the street in Ilorin, right? That's what I did when that's from age 10. I was selling newspaper on the street of Ilorin. I paid my own school fees, GSS 1. First day in school, I paid my school fees. I paid my school uniform, was purchased by me. The locker in my school, you have to take it to school, I paid for it. The taxi that took me to school, I paid for it. And my older brother that went with me, I paid his taxi back home. Anyway, and I was just 11. Okay? Yes, it's tough. I'm not saying you should, I'm not praying it for you. Actually, when I talked about it, I'm not saying it's the way life should be. At 10, I should be developing myself and trying to study. But that was my story. But you don't let that story to define who you are. It shouldn't define your future. All right? First, on those who are privileged as well, you came from very rich home and so on, leverage on what you have. You know, life is about, you can never be perfect. When God created man and woman, actually, it's deliberate. It's deliberate so that it's about compensation. It's about somebody who is strong, somebody will be weak in something, somebody will be. So what you need to identify is the areas that you are strong and area that you are weak. And what you need to do is compensate for where you are weak, but where you are strong, be humble to know that you are given that to humanity. It's to help humanity, not to buga and brag about. To really help humanity. That's what it's about. Okay, so if you are from a privileged background, good for you. Thank God for you, but make the best of it. It should be easier for you to get to the top. It's not an excuse to be a mediocre. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's not an excuse to be a mediocre. So that's the journey. I went to ABU Zaria when I finished secondary school. I was telling them in my school this today. I asked them a question. How many of you are doing physics right now? They raised their hand. How many people did physics last year and wrote GCSE? They said they've passed. And when I was there, my school was so bad, they banned my school for physics. All right, so I actually had to go and do physics in another school, Mankamen College next door. But I got the highest score in that school. So now the school that is so bad that they stopped doing physics. So that is what I mean by you. It has to be you. And it was just not just me, it was also the other boys that were together. We were a group of boys and girls, you know, that were just striving, want to be something. Things that we aim for, because we're saying we call it 6A1's club. That's when we started, when we were SS3. We didn't, nobody got 6A1, but we passed. And we got to university, and we are where we are today. Does that make sense? Aspiration and going somewhere. So I got a job as a banker, even though I wanted to be a lecturer. So from NYC, I worked for the bank. Why I knew that it wasn't for me was a very simple test. And I think for everyone listening, you need a test for yourself as well as to what I'm doing now isn't for me. I'll tell you why I knew bank was not for me. When I was in ABU, I was doing coaching classes to raise funds to pay for my school fees and doing all sort of things. But there's something I always, even if I didn't have money to eat, I will always buy newspaper on Tuesday. So it's Tuesday for people in the South, but in the North, we get that paper on Wednesdays, Guardian. And inside it on Tuesday, it's called Computer Life. So I was always reading that Computer Life. Imagine I didn't have money, but I would still buy it. The vendor, the owner of the desk knew me. You know, so I would buy it and read it. Guy that didn't have money was paying to buy something. Then now I had money as a banker, plus my bank was paying for it. But you know, the Guardian will come and I will put it next to me and I will not read it until next one comes. I know it's a time to leave here. Because really, it meant I was here for a different reason. It wasn't for my passion. My passion was for a different thing, but I was actually doing something different for money or for something else. And no one told me, Dele, you don't need to rent a house, you don't need a car. So I didn't have a transistor radio. All my money I was saving, that is never going to be here. Yeah, anyway. So when I got the opportunity, I went abroad. And when I got abroad, by the way, for those who want to pay attention. So I was minus. For many years, at least 2-3 years, I was worse than how I was. You know, so I was a lot better in Nigeria when I got to Britain. I went 20 years ago. So I was like backward. So it took me at least maybe 2-3 years or more to be where I was in Nigeria roughly. Okay, but you see, because it was about my vision, not about Japan, not about any other thing, not because I just wanted to travel. Over the years, it's paid off. Am I making sense to someone? So there's something called provision. Do we know what provision is? Provision. When you say provision, it's just English word. This auntie was looking at me. No, I'm not trying to make it complicated. It's just provision that we know. Provision. Provision, yeah? Resources. But you see, what we need to pay attention to is the word itself. Provision. Provision. So inside provision is vision. So when you have a clear vision, provision will be made available. So many people run around the provision. They run around money. Want that car, that latest this, that wherever, and so on. Even including, I want to travel abroad. That's provision, okay? Because you want to be better. All those things are provisions. But embedded and inherent in provision is a clear vision. If you have a clear vision, provision will be made available to you. So one thing I will say, then I'll go into the later part of my talk, is that, so when I became a lecturer, within the 2 years, I think, about 24 months, I became a senior lecturer, not because I applied, because I got an email, Dele, you have been promoted. I won't tell you the reason. I've been promoted to senior lecturer, and HR will contact you tomorrow morning. Okay? The readership, the same. So somebody just came to me, Dele, after 2 years, you need to be a reader now. Look at what we've been doing. You're doing. I said, okay, no problem. All right, I will apply. So I applied, I got rejected. All right? And then 6 months after, I got a big grant, got some other things. And by the way, I was given the reader, I didn't apply, and they backdated it to the time that they rejected it. And they promoted me 6 times, 6 years ahead. And then a year after or 2 years after, somebody just came to me, Dele, we saw this review on professorship the other day. Some people are even there. They don't have, why not just apply? And I was thinking, I will look like a guy who is over ambitious. Anyway, I applied and I became a professor. So I became a professor in 6 years from the time that I was a lecturer. Okay, now, again, it's not really to make me look cool or big. It's really to let us know it is possible. Considering the fact that I was in the midst of people that I won't say, he's from my village, and therefore I should cut him, or I pray. It's not about favor, it's about metric. And that's towards I'm half of my talk now already. So now, let's look at this. I know a lady. I'll try not to be, so that I didn't ask for her permission, but she shared it in a conference that I organized and invited her. So I'll try not to make her known too much. So maybe I should call her Tawa Kalitu, or we can call her Ramat, but that's not her real name. So now Ramat came to UK. She was doing her PhD, right? And at the middle of by the way, let's go before. After she did her master's and she was looking for scholarship. When she finished the master's, she got interviews. So at the interview, she already researched everybody on the panel, about 6 of them. So much that she knows each of them so well, and the papers they've written and what they are working on and so on. So she got to that panel, and then they finished normal interview, all right? And then they said, do you have any questions? Yeah, I have a question. And you know what she was saying? Professor, Mrs. So yes, actually in that your paper the other time, the question you asked the other is related to that. And I did. So what happened was that they called her back and said officially she's not qualified because she's not British. She wasn't British at the time. And the grant was for a British student. So the answer was no, officially from the university. But you know the panel, yeah, the supervisors, they said they will not, take somebody else, yeah, and if the university refused to change the rules so that somebody who is from Nigeria can take that role, they will not supervise anybody else. Okay, so it took a while. Remember, she has already heard of officially from the university that, well, sorry, you are not international. We didn't even know. We didn't check properly. You shouldn't be here. To cut the story short, that's how she got her grant. By the supervisor forced it on the university. They changed the rule. They look for money somewhere else because it's more expensive to sponsor international. In fact, almost double. A lot of money to sponsor. That's how she got her PhD, her funding. Then the last year to her PhD, she traveled to London, somewhere in America, to present one of her works, her paper. A CTO of a company then was at that conference. So when they finished, this man, chief executive, the technology officer, went to her, asked her a few questions, and was very intrigued. This woman was just answering this question. It was amazing. I said, okay, you know what? When you get back to Britain, because that man is actually from England, but they both met in the US. So he said, okay, when you get to England, anytime you have time, just come around. We will pay for the expenses, we'll pay for anything. Just come around, we'll show you some of our work. Maybe it will interest you. So she, of course, when she came back, the Nigerian in her, she was just, I need to talk to this man. She called, and they arranged everything, brought her to the company, took her around and everything. And when she was asking the right question, obviously, by the time they finished, the man asked her, okay, what do you think about us? Are we doing anything great? So the lady said, she said, great, this is too much, this is awesome, this is amazing. So they were excited that she was excited, all right? To cut the story short, right there, they just said, well, if you really like us, listen to this word carefully, by the way, yeah? If you really like us, not we will interview you, send your CV, no. If you really like us, we will be happy to have you. What do you think? And she was thinking, what do I think? I want a job and I need a visa. Anyway, so she joined them, all right? Within a few weeks, she went to her supervisor and then she joined them. Please pay attention. It's still a very slightly long story, and you see why I'm telling you. She joined them as a staff in this company, but she had more than 6 months left for her to write up. So she thought she would be able to combine it. So over 6 weeks after, she realized the way things are going, I will never finish this PhD. So she went to this man and said, look, I'm really sorry. I like to give my best to anything. I don't think I'll be able to give my best. Please let me go back, finish my PhD. Do you promise you will give me this space? The guy said, oh, no problem, go. So they allowed her. She left the company, went back to the university and continued to write. So she'd received 2 salaries, I think, before. So then this third salary, the monthly salary, exact the amount hit her account. So she just called them and said, sorry, maybe HR didn't know that I shouldn't be paid because I've resigned. So she called HR and HR said, well, we didn't, okay, sorry, we didn't receive your letter of resignation, we will process it. So the man then called her and said, no, you are still working for us. So he said, no, I resigned. I said, no, you didn't resign. When you were here for the 6 weeks, you did things that some people have been here for several years. They've not contributed anything. So until you finish, if it's more than 6 months, we'll continue to pay you, okay? That's how they carry on paying her. So this has not finished. She graduated, and this is real life story, by the way. I'm not making any. The only thing I made up is her name, everything else is exact, and she's female as well. So it's not like that. But the only thing I made up is the name. So when she finished, eventually she joined them. They promoted her. She started doing very well and so on. And she was traveling, sending her to America, sending her to different places. So there was a particular time she went to, I think it was America, and then she spent maybe 2 weeks, and she did very well. Came back, everybody was excited. Then because of that, they then called her maybe a few months after and said, oh, you need to represent us, to lead the team to this place. And she said, oh, sorry, I can't. They said, why? She said, I have family. I have these 2 young boys now. They jumpy. I can't. So the man said, okay, fine. But he just felt, this girl, it would be nice if she could go. Okay? Then the guy came back and said, all right, but sorry, I'm not putting pressure on you, but you went the other time. So what has changed? What have we done to you that makes you don't want to go? So, it's because my mom came from Nigeria to look after my children. That was why I could, because I don't want to put the pressure on my husband alone. I said, okay. So the guy said, oh, okay. You mean if your mom came, look after your children, then you can travel? She said, yeah, actually I can. I said, okay, good, done then. Your mom can come. And I said, no, there's a problem. Actually, my mom does not travel without my dad. So the last time they actually came, the dad came with her. So they said, okay, is that the only thing? Say, yes, done. So basically, since then, and this was many years ago, since then, every time she needs to travel, that is more than a particular time or something like that, they fly the mom and dad from Nigeria to come to the UK to look after the children. And then when she arrives, she needs to tell the company when she wants the mom to go back or not, and the mom will come back and so on. And I can carry on. She said some other thing, maybe during the question and answer, I can use that. But you see, the question is this. Do they really do this because they like her? No. they do it because of what she brings on the table. So the question to you, the point to you, sisters then, yeah, for the ladies and men, yeah, as well, because we are doing you a favor for you to be here. I've told Prof, next time we have this conference, there should be at least 2/3 female minimum. There will be 2/3 female minimum, because it's to train women, because there will always be other time to train the men. 2/3 female minimum. So for us gentlemen and ladies here today, the point I say to you is that always check what you bring on the table. Don't try to be nice to people. I'm not saying don't be snobbish, okay? But niceness does not help nobody for a long time. You understand? We not promote you. We will just get you to a level. All right, bring something on the table. I think at at 9 University last year, I spoke about a tree. All right, the tree, you see the tree, right? It's just that tree over there. This tree it's just a tree. But you see, when the tree begins to produce good fruits that are very sweet, delicious, that can be squeezed to make juice, or can be squeezed to heal diseases, or something like that. What do you think the owner of the tree is going to do? He's first of all going to be thinking, okay, how can I multiply this tree? How can I get fertilizer so that it can be more fruitful? How can I put irrigation water? Trimming actually, so that it's even much more fruitful and so on. You can get an expert agriculturist, horticulturist to look after the tree. Yeah, and if the person that owns the land think there's somebody that may come around and steal the fruit, what do you think he's going to do? Put fence around. Is it the tree that we like? It's the fruit that the tree bear. So pay attention to the fruits that you bear. So when you are setting your goal, when you are looking at your vision, the big vision of life, think of what you are going to be contributing. Remember, the tree does not eat fruit. Does that make sense? Do you see trees eating fruit? Well, the only time trees eat fruit is when the fruit is dead, it's rotten and it goes in the ground. But it doesn't eat it, yeah? It will prefer fertilizer, is faster. So the same thing, what you create should not be for you most times. So what you want to create as a person is you want to create something for humanity. Because when you do that for humanity, people will forget your religion. They will forget your color. They will forget whether you are a woman or a man, particularly for women. They will forget all these things, honestly. When you begin to contribute, you begin to bring something on the table, there's a meeting going on, and you set up in the meeting, and you sit down, the discussion going on, and say, ma'am, I think what we want to do yesterday about this is the way to do it. And these are 3 reasons why we cannot do it this way, but this way. And when we do it in these 3 reasons, this is how it's going to make more money. This is how it's going to save you time. This is how it saves people in Russia, it saves people in Tanzania, and it saves people in this place, because you've done your homework. That leads me to the next thing about the tree. You see, the tree gets its nutrient from where? From the fruits, from the ground. Do you see the roots of the tree? No. That is why the unseen is very important. Okay, pay attention to things that cannot be seen. All this all this that can be seen is the fruit by that time. Usually when you develop that lady that I'm talking about, yeah, it was when she was studying for several hours to go for that interview for PhD. Nobody knew what she was reading. Yeah, but when you manifest it in a committee, people will see. They have no choice than to see. Pay attention to what is unseen. You see, the fruit that I was talking about, make sure you are always relevant. So, because what you use today will not be relevant by next year. If you are the superstar of your department today, all right? If you are bringing the same story you brought 2 years ago, the VC will say, go and look for a new one. Okay? So make sure that your fruit is fresh. Don't be rotten, okay? Make sure that your fruit is what? Fresh. It's fresh. It's fresh. That takes me to the next thing, which is really about, you see, we are still talking about tree. A tree that, you want to bear fruit, but you need to be in the right place, the right location. Actually, if you have a tree that is near a river, what happens? Whether there's season, whether there's no season, whether there's rainfall or no rainfall, it bears fruit. But when you go to a desert, you are Ṣojú àárọ̀, ṣé kò ní rọ̀, you are waiting for something else. You have so many things against you. So locate yourself in the right environment. Have the right friends, the right mentors, people that can support you, people that help you grow. Does that make sense? Good. So as I'm rounding up, I just want to talk about the game of life as well. So the game of life is really that, okay, when you have prepared yourself, you have equipped yourself, and you are bearing fruits, you need to be aware of the fact that you are not the only one in the world. So you need to think about how you form relationship. I didn't say how you network. There's a difference between networking and forming relationship. Networking is, I go to that uncle over there and I say, how are you, sir? And all I was waiting for is to tell me who he is, and I say, I can do that contract. Oh, I can do this. It's always about me. That's no relationship. We are just doing networking. I'm looking how I can use him. You understand how I can use you? So when somebody says go for networking, I say I don't do networking, because networking is really selfishness, okay, for me, right? But relationship is very simple. Relationship is about building, trying to know you, and the reason why I want to know you and know you deeply is that I'm thinking, how can I solve a problem in your life? If not now, maybe you have a daughter. He has a son that is in university looking for admission. She told me that time, and I know somebody, and so on. So because you want to know that person, you listen more, okay? You listen about their life, everything, okay? So it's very important that you build. How do you build relationship? I'll say pay attention to the game of life. So one of them being that when you start as an apprentice. What that means basically is that don't be proud about what you know. Be humble, okay? And don't go to the top like I know everything. Start here, but don't aim here. You aim to be a master. So start as an apprentice. Okay, like somebody who is learning, but don't then say that I'm humble, I want to remain here. That's not humility, that's stupidity. All right? Start as an apprentice, aim to be what? A master. Does that make sense? And in the game of life, pay attention to the fact that there will be win and lose. Okay, so there are times to give in to others, let others understand, and so on. And ultimately in that game, you want to be able to be somebody. So play according to the rules when you are apprentice. Okay, play according to the rules. Check the rules of the land. Part of what you want to know is that what works here, what is the rule, what will get me to prison, what will get me on the straight and narrow, know it. But as you are becoming a master, it is also not wise for you to begin to follow the rules all the time. I will tell you one, I'm not saying go against the rule. But what is unique about people that change the world is that they influence the rules. So the work of an expert really is to be able to walk into this room and say, why are you doing this? And say, oh, it's because this is why it's been done. And then you look for credible, sensible, foolproof evidence to say this is not the right way to do it now anymore. There is another way to do it, and these are the reasons why it is good for you, and they change it because of you. That is why you are a master. So when you are a master, your role is not to follow the rules alone. Your role is not to be going, the president says, no. That's not your role as an expert in the society. Your role in the society is to start from nothing, understand it perfectly, but with clear intent, deliberately you are looking for things you are going to change. But how do you test that what you are changing and all this is not wrong? It's very simple. First test is that it should not be about you. If you are changing the rule to help you and help your family, is rubbish. But you are changing it and changing it for humanity. You see that, like I was talking about equal access, earlier on. Oh, I think, to be quite honest, this thing favored me. It's good for me, to be honest, as a man. But, sister, so every time she comes to work, she is late. And I've looked at it. Why exactly is she always say she's late? Because she's the one dropping the kids at school, and the husband thinks man should not drop kids. So I cannot change who dropped the kids in her home, but I am the manager here. I am the boss here. I can change when somebody starts a job, and then say, okay, for you, I cannot change whether you do 5 hours. You cannot do less than everybody else. You will still do your 9 hours. However, you can start at 10. You can start maybe after you drop your kids at school, but maybe do your extra hours social time. Flexibility, they do it, I mean, this is standard in Europe, and so flexibility, because now you know the rules. But for humanity, for the betterment of the humanity, which you are part of, by the way, but you are not doing it selfishly for yourself and your family, you've just changed something. So that's the game of life. Maybe I will still relate to some of them as we go on, but I want to say the last two, which is first one, keep your room tidy. Okay, I'm not saying your room is dirty. I have not even been to your room before. But see, what that means is this. You know, every one of us, and even when I was driving here, I could see that in the hotel that I stayed in Ilorin, the one I stayed in Lagos, when I was on the plane, every time I was complaining Nigeria, you know, in my head, even if I didn't verbalize it. Why is it that? You understand? But actually, most of the time when we do that, you know what we are trying to do? We are trying to explain how somebody else's room can be tidy. Yeah, how somebody else can clean their room. How the streets can be better. How the whole offer can be cleaner. Bros, sis, it's not your job. That's why they voted somebody else. You know what you can do? Good. Don't even clean your room, the whole house. Go to the first room, one room in your house. Make sure that that room is tidy. So go into one room in your house. If you have 3 bedrooms, you have just make sure it is extremely tidy, very orderly. And when you are clear and do that for a while, go to the next room, go to the next room, pay attention to your sitting room, and so on. You know what is going to happen? Everybody that comes around begin to associate clean sitting room to you. And then they go to their house and they want to be like Sister Shalewa and Mr. Abdul and things like that. And then their room is clean, and the other room is clean, and the whole of the city is known for cleanliness, one way or the other. Look, what I'm talking about is facts, and you can measure them factually. That is why this is offer. There's a Mupo there is maybe a Jasheku there. If you go to each of these cities, for some reason, you will see something that is common to each city. And you'll be wondering, hey, why is it that in Ilorin, everybody is like this? Maybe it could be cleanliness. It could be that they are respectful. It's because somebody was respectful, began to respect other people, and everybody think respect is a big thing here, and they begin to respect. Okay? Keep one room tidy. Make sure the other rooms are cool. Invite people freely. Let them see. Don't tell them. Don't tell them, you see that my house is tidy. No, it's not going to work. Let them see themselves, okay? They carry it on the whole of the... And if the rooms are tidy, then actually unclean streets become a problem. Everybody becomes stressed when they see a street that is unclean, right? And then the city will be clean, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's a very simple way of explaining it. But what I'm talking about life is this. When you see anything in the society that is not good, okay? Instead of wasting a lot of energy and fighting Buhari and say it's Buhari's fault, it is this person's fault, the governor's fault. You, in your own very house, is that thing happening? Okay, why not pay attention to that simple one? You, husband, wife, or your child, or your sister, or whatever. Just pay attention to show love, compassion, understanding, carefulness, cleanness, simple things like that. Do it. Model it around. Regardless of what everybody else is doing, you just choose, I am going to do this. And you know what that is called in simple terms? I told my daughter not too long ago, I said, you are a leader. Okay? You know what the definition, my definition of leadership? The definition of leadership is that you provide service and you are ready to pay a price for it, and you take responsibility for 2 things. Responsibility for when it does well, yeah, you are happy to celebrate and, yeah, say, well, I did it. But when it goes wrong, don't blame somebody else. Yeah, say it's me, I did it and I'm sorry. That's leadership. And you know what? Leadership has nothing to do with age. So if you have a daughter, my daughter is 13, if she tells you that, you see, look, this sitting room where we eat, this dining table, I want it tidied and clean. And anybody that wants to eat here, I want them to put mat before you put your plate. Okay? And if you see, she needs to do it first, and then maybe she keep that place clean all the time. Even you as a mother or as a dad, when you get to the place and you want to do things, you say, when Buki comes now, she's going to be complaining now. Because of her, keep this place. She's a leader. She's the leader on that subject. How can you be a leader? You don't need to have a title like the big title Morga here has, that's the vice chancellor, all right? You know, we all respect him, he's our boss and so on. But you don't need to be a VC. As a lecturer, as research associate, as a student, whatever that you are, be a leader there. And what you know to do as a leader, provide service, something that nobody is doing. Don't complain that they are not doing it. You go do it, but when you do it, take responsibility of consistency, that this thing carry on and on and on. And as it carries on, that when it fails, don't blame nobody. Don't go around shouting, it's me that have been doing it all this while. And none of you, you say you are a leader. They didn't want that place. They didn't say they want to eat in that particular way. You say it's a good place to, and they to accept it's good. So when they are not doing it, it's your responsibility to do it. And when people come around and say, man, this is amazing. Who is it? Go there and say, it's me. Yeah, I did it. Yeah, because it's not pride. It's okay. Say I did it. Why? It's going to motivate you to want to do more. Because people appreciate it. All right? I think, as you know, academics can talk on for forever. So I think I should stop here, and then maybe in the afternoon we can carry on. Thank you for having me.
As-salatu was-salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhan